From ancient cities carved deep into the rocks to modern bunkers that can withstand global catastrophes. Today we will show you secret cities, tunnels, and shelters where people not only found refuge from external threats, but also lived a full life. You are on the TopFacts channel. I promise it will be interesting. Happy viewing. In the gigantic city of Tokyo, which has suffered from heavy rains, typhoons, and even potential tsunamis for many decades, a unique underground structure known as the Floodwater Drainage Room has been created. This world's largest drainage system cost the government a whopping sum, but the result was worth it. Inside, there are 5 giant tanks, each of which is capable of accommodating the Statue of Liberty, and they are connected by 6 kilometers of tunnels. When rivers overflow their banks or heavy downpours hit the capital, excess water is redirected here. Special pumps with enormous power pump water into another river, preventing it from flooding the metropolis. According to engineers, these pumps can empty a standard Olympic pool in just a couple of seconds. Just as Naples is noisy and shimmering with colors on the surface, its dungeons have their own amazing history. The Napoli Sotterranea system is believed to have been founded more than 2,400 years ago. Initially, the ancient Greeks began carving passages, and the Romans subsequently expanded the network to store supplies and water. Over the centuries, some of the tunnels were used for secret trade, where the black market flourished, and during World War II, these underground caves and passages became a shelter for thousands of people. They say that here, you can find old toys, dishes, and even medical bottles. Evidence that ordinary families literally lived underground, fleeing from bombing. One of the most famous parts of these dungeons is the so-called Bourbon Tunnel, which once connected the royal residence with military barracks. It is said that even after the official closure of the passages, some local history hunters continued to explore the secret passages, hoping to find treasures from bygone eras. Under the busy streets of Edinburgh, there is a whole layer of history, the so-called vaults, or underground chambers. They were built at the end of the 18th century as warehouses for merchants and craftsmen to store goods and equipment. However, damp and poorly ventilated rooms soon became a refuge for those who had nowhere to go. So these vaults became a shelter for the homeless and a habitat for crime. Over time, the air inside became so heavy and humid that people began to leave the vaults, leaving behind various utensils, from kitchen utensils to children's toys. Interestingly, all this was discovered only at the end of the 20th century, when archaeologists and urban enthusiasts decided to explore the forgotten corridors. Today, some sites are open to the public, although the gloomy atmosphere and ghost stories make many tourists feel a slight chill on their skin. They say that mysterious rustles and footsteps can be heard here, especially in those cells where people lived in complete isolation from sunlight. Sometime in the 70s of the last century, in Beijing, fearing a possible war with the Soviet Union, they began to build an underground city called Dixiacheng. This is a complex network of tunnels and halls, which was built by hand by local residents. The depth is about 85 meters, and the total area should have been enough to shelter hundreds of thousands of people in the event of a nuclear attack or massive bombing. According to some reports, the labyrinth, which was nicknamed the Underground Great Wall, had shops, schools, cinemas, and even an ice rink. The entrances were disguised as ordinary buildings and shops, so that the enemy did not even suspect such a large-scale bomb shelter. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, construction was gradually curtailed, and many sections fell into disrepair. Today, homeless people live here, and it is rumored that some of the corridors are still guarded, as they may contain strategic supplies and important archives. This vast underground world is a reminder of how far people can go to protect themselves from war. In the northern part of France, in the town of Anne, there is a system of tunnels that date back to the Middle Ages. Initially, they were built as a secret shelter from military attacks. Local residents could hide here during a siege and not be afraid of shelling. But these dungeons gained real popularity during the First World War, when Entente soldiers descended here. On the walls, you can see thousands of graphic images and inscriptions that soldiers left in between battles. Many of the drawings are real works of art, reflecting the emotions and experiences of people who find themselves in the epicenter of the military hell. It is impressive that most of these frescoes have miraculously survived to this day, and according to historians, now serve as invaluable evidence of the life and everyday life of those times. In some nooks, they find abandoned personal belongings and military equipment. Archaeologists believe that some sections of the tunnels have not yet been fully explored. In the city of Montreal, not only winters are distinguished by a harsh climate, but also the contrasts of the weather are impressive. Sometimes severe frosts, sometimes humid heat. That is why in the 60s of the last century, they began to build an extensive underground infrastructure, which the locals call réseau, from the French word réseau, which means network. Today, this network has tens of kilometers of corridors connecting shopping centers, hotels, office buildings, and metro stations. Life here is almost in full swing, especially in the cold season. There are several thousand shops underground, many cafes and restaurants. There are concert halls and even libraries. According to statistics, hundreds of thousands of people move here every day. Tourists are especially surprised at how convenient. You can go shopping or visit sites all day long without going out in the cold or rain. And although all this was originally created as a way to survive in a harsh climate, Réseau has become something of a separate micro-city with its own atmosphere. In the Andalusian town of Setenil de las Bodegas, houses and cafes seem to be rooted into a giant rock. This place looks as if a huge block of stone has literally covered the streets and buildings. In fact, people built facades and rooms right in the rock massif to protect themselves from the heat in summer and the cold in winter. It is said that the first settlements here arose in prehistoric times, when natural caves served as a safe haven for local residents. Today, several thousand people live around. Due to the unusual conditions inside the houses, it is often cool without any air conditioning, and a unique atmosphere always reigns on the streets. Tourists come here to admire the narrow streets decorated with hanging rock vaults, as well as to taste local wines and tapas, which are served right in underground restaurants. Local legends say that once treasures and secret passages were hidden in the depths of the rocky bowels. But whether this is true, no one knows for sure. In the Czech city of Pilsen, from the 13th to the 19th century, an extensive system of underground passages and rooms was formed. Originally, they were dug under houses to store water, food, and of course, the famous beer. Gradually, the warehouses and basements were connected by tunnels, forming a network several tens of kilometers long. Interestingly, in addition to storing supplies, these tunnels also served as a sewer, which was an advanced solution at the time. When part of the system was abandoned, excavations began during which archaeologists found many medieval artifacts, jugs, utensils, brewing tools. Today, tourists are invited to look into some parts of the dungeon, where you can feel the long history of Bohemian brewing and find out what secrets were hidden under the peaceful streets of this small Czech town. In the heart of the town of Corham, England, there is a striking object called Burlington. It began to be built in the mid-50s of the last century, when the threat of nuclear attacks seemed quite real. It was planned that it would be a secret underground city capable of accommodating several thousand people in the event of an atomic war. Whole kilometers of roads were laid underground. Communication centers were equipped. A hospital was deployed and resources were stored for 3 months. Everything was designed to be completely isolated from radiation, toxic gases, and any military threats. According to rumors, there was even a special branch that directly connected to the London-Bristol railway line so that the British royal family could quickly evacuate. As a result, Burlington was never officially involved, and after the collapse of the USSR, the project was recognized as redundant. However, there is talk that the underground passages have been preserved in good condition and can be activated in an emergency. An accidental find of a local resident in the 63rd year of the last century turned the scientists' idea of underground cities upside down. Dismantling the wall near his house, the man found that a huge space was hidden behind it. As a result, it turned out that he stumbled upon one of the largest underground complexes in the world, called Derinkuyu. This city goes deep into almost 18 levels and was capable of accommodating about 20,000 people, along with their animals. The rock-cut rooms are equipped with ventilation shafts, wells, and even massive stone doors that could be closed from the inside to protect themselves from enemies. Archaeologists believe that people created such structures to survive during wars and raids. To date, only a small section of the labyrinth is open to tourists, but this is enough to feel the cold breath of centuries and realize how thoughtful the ancient construction was. The Karizikish system is believed to have been built about 2,500 years ago, when trade flourished on the island of Kish and a whole city grew. This underground labyrinth stretches for many kilometers and lies at a depth of up to 16 meters. The main task of Karis was to collect, filter, and store water. The fact is that the island is very hot, and fresh water here is worth its weight in gold. It is curious that the vaults of the tunnel are lined with fossils and shells, the age of which is more than 100 million years. Excavations have shown that the area was once the seabed, and this is another reminder of how amazing the history of the planet is. Over time, the water supply system became obsolete, and the underground galleries were forgotten. But now some Hall's House art galleries, cafes, and even small souvenir shops. Tourists can stroll under the ancient vaults, admiring the prints of fossil creatures on the walls. The former Homestake gold mine in South Dakota has become America's deepest scientific center, called Sanford. There are kilometers of workings underground, where scientists conduct research in the field of elementary particle physics and cosmology. At great depths, the thickness of the rock protects the instruments from cosmic radiation, which is especially important for experiments related to the search for dark matter and the study of neutrinos. It was once the site of the experiment of the famous Raymond Davis, who won the Nobel Prize for his research on solar neutrinos. The spacious rooms are now equipped with laboratories with the latest technology, such as a huge water tank for additional filtering of external noise. Some detectors claim to be so sensitive that they can pick up a lone particle in a colossal background. It's amazing how one of the quietest places on the planet can contribute to solving the greatest mysteries of the universe. The big city of New York is known for its High Park, the High Line, which was built on the site of the former elevated railway. But at the beginning of the 21st century, the Low Line project was conceived, an underground park, which they wanted to create in an abandoned tram terminal in the Manhattan area. Engineers planned to bring sunlight deep through a special system that works on fiber optics and mirrors. Thanks to such an innovative approach, it would be possible to grow plants and even trees in the dungeon. The space was supposed to be turned into a place for walking, recreation, and cultural events, a kind of underground oasis in the heart of the metropolis. Although the project faced financial difficulties and mixed reviews, the idea continued to be promoted in order to breathe new life into the forgotten underground spaces of the city. This initiative is often cited as an example of how urbanists are trying to rethink urban space using the most unexpected locations. On the Mesa Verde Plateau in Colorado, unique dwellings of the Anasazi people have been preserved, built around the 12th and 13th centuries. The most famous of them is the Cliff Palace, a huge complex that seems to be built into a rock niche. Special rooms called kiva were found there, which, according to scientists, were used for religious and ritual purposes. Initially, people settled here for protection from bad weather and hostile tribes. In the carved apartments, ceramics, tools for processing grain, as well as jewelry made of turquoise and feathers were found. According to one version, the Anasazi left these places due to a prolonged drought that deprived them of water sources and crops. The modern Hopi and Zuni tribes consider themselves their descendants and sometimes participate in restoration work and ritual ceremonies. In the heart of the Australian outback, far from civilization and the usual greenery, the unusual city of Coober Pedy is hidden. It is very hot here, and the soil is literally pitted by opal mines. It is said that at the beginning of the 20th century, a boy accidentally found stunningly beautiful stones on the surface of the earth, which was the impetus for the beginning of large-scale mining. But because of the hellish heat, the temperature can rise above 50 degrees Celsius. The locals have learned to build duhots, houses that go underground. In such dwellings, even without air conditioning, a pleasant coolness reigns all year round. Moreover, underground architecture has spread far beyond ordinary dwellings. There are underground shops, museums, bars, and even a church. According to old-timers, they once found huge nuggets of opals just a few meters from their house. Now the deposits are not so rich, but there are still enough people who want to try their luck. Rumor has it that some miners deliberately do not talk about promising veins in order to leave them for the future. Because what if opal shoots in price again? In the town of Nushabad, one day, a local resident accidentally stumbled upon the entrance to a huge underground labyrinth when he was just trying to dig a ditch for sewers. It turned out that this is an ancient city, which presumably is more than 1,500 years old. According to historical information, underground rooms were cut into the thickness of the ground so that women, children, and the elderly could hide from enemy attacks. The system lies at a depth of about 3 to 20 meters. It has several levels with their own rooms, stairs, air shafts, and even peculiar traps, so that the enemy who dares to descend gets confused and cannot find a way out. Archaeologists noticed that each family carved out its own room, and over time it all merged into a single network, somewhat reminiscent of a beehive. Oil lamps were used for lighting, and water was obtained from deep wells. Despite the fact that some of the tunnels have already been explored, scientists do not rule out that the underground city may still harbor many secrets. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is located in Ohio and is known for many rumors about alien technology allegedly hidden there. Especially often appears the so-called Hangar 18, where, according to legends, the wreckage of UFOs and even the bodies of aliens are stored, allegedly found after the Roswell incident in the late 40s of the last century. There is a version that Senator Barry Goldwater once tried to gain access there, but he was resolutely refused, making it clear that the issue was no longer being discussed. Some point out that there is also a network of tunnels near the University of Wright State, but it is allegedly used only for the convenience of moving students between buildings. There is no official confirmation of fantastic stories, but rumors continue to excite the minds of ufologists and conspiracy theorists. Some researchers are even sure that the underground structures at the base go several levels down, hiding secret laboratories there. Whether this is true or not remains unknown. Under the Canadian town of Moose Jaw, there is also a network of underground tunnels. Both historical facts and several controversial legends are associated with them. According to one version, at the beginning of the 20th century, Chinese workers hid in these corridors, fleeing discrimination and high taxes. However, many experts say that not much evidence of this underground life has been found, and some of the stories could be embellished for tourists. Later, in the era of Prohibition in the 20s, the tunnels are said to have been used by bootleggers who distilled alcohol bypassing the authorities. The most striking tale is that the famous gangster Al Capone himself could secretly appear in these corridors to conduct his business, although there is no official evidence here either. Now tours are held in the tunnels, where a theatrical production of The Path to Riches and Connection with Chicago is offered. As a result, reality is closely intertwined with myths, making these underground corridors truly attractive to inquisitive travelers. Entrepreneur Robert Vicino created the concept of Vivos underground bunkers, which should save humanity from global disasters. The first complex is located near Barstow in California and is designed for about a couple of hundred people. The local premises are able to withstand nuclear explosions, fires, earthquakes, and hurricanes. Inside there are supplies of food, water, and medicine for about a year. Vicino plans to build a whole network of such arks in the immediate vicinity of the largest metropolitan areas, so that in the event of a threat, people can quickly get to shelter. It is said that investors even want to collect in one place the genetic material of all the animals and plants existing on the planet in order to start a new life after the apocalypse. However, all this pleasure costs a lot of money, and many criticize the project for the fact that it is rather accessible exclusively to the elite. Despite this, Vicino himself considers his mission sacred and hopes that in the event of a catastrophe, it is his arks that will allow the revival of civilization. The ancient city of Petra can in many ways be called one of the most impressive wonders on Earth. It originated many centuries ago when the Nabateans are believed to have ruled a vast area of Middle Eastern trade routes. The entrance to Petra lies through a narrow and long gorge called Sikh. On its sides there are tall rocks, in which carved channels for water supply are still visible. The main pearl here is the so-called treasury, a gigantic facade that seems to be carved right into the pink rocks. Inside is a spacious cave that once served as either a temple or a royal tomb. But that's not all. Behind the treasury hides a whole city with many carved facades and more modest buildings. Rumor has it that up to 30,000 people used to live here, and they had a complex system of water conduits to help cope with the arid climate. This city was forgotten for many centuries until a curious explorer rediscovered it for the West in the early 19th century. In the Mexican city of Guanajuato, active silver mining began in the 16th century. In order to transport the valuable metal to the factories more conveniently, an extensive underground network of tunnels was built. Later, during the years of the struggle for independence, the revolutionaries used these corridors, hiding from Spanish troops and transferring weapons. One of the most unusual and even creepy attractions here is the Museum of Mummies. Its exhibits are naturally mummified bodies found in the local cemetery due to the specific composition of the soil and the peculiarities of the climate. Many tourists admit that the exposition makes an ambiguous impression, but at the same time tells about the traditions and attitude to death in this culture. In addition to the museum, in the dungeons you can also find street art, souvenir shops, as well as secret corners where, according to rumors, treasures are still hidden. Near Krakow, there is the famous Wieliczka salt mine, where salt mining began in the 13th century. Now it is a grandiose complex, going hundreds of meters underground, and its tunnels and chambers stretch for many tens of kilometers. The most impressive halls are decorated with carved figures, chandeliers, and even entire chapels made of salt crystals. Each hall is like a separate museum pavilion, dedicated to the history of salt mining and Polish traditions. Here you can see underground lakes mirroring the light from salt lamps and taste the crystals, if, of course, you decide to lick the walls, although it is not recommended to do this for the sake of preserving the monument and hygiene. Wieliczka is famous for its excellent acoustics, so concerts are sometimes held here, or theatrical performances are staged. In addition, since the air is saturated with salt ions, there are wellness areas for breathing therapy. It is said that fresh water used to be stored in separate tanks so that miners could wash off the salt a little during particularly long work shifts. In the heart of the Mexican capital, it has long been planned to erect an innovative building called Earth Scraper, which can be translated as Earth Scraper. According to the project, it should be an inverted pyramid, going down several dozen floors and with a large atrium in the middle. The light to the lower levels was planned to be carried through a glass roof, which coincides with the surface of the Zócalo Square, the main square of the city. This idea was proposed by the architects, given that in the historic center of Mexico City, it is impossible to build buildings that are too tall so as not to disturb the views and not spoil the cultural heritage. But the shortage of land is becoming more and more acute, and the way out could just be an inner skyscraper. It was claimed that living quarters, offices, and even exhibition spaces could be located inside. However, the construction has repeatedly faced bureaucratic obstacles. At the same time, the very idea of erecting a building deep into the earth delights many experts and gives hope that in the future, cities will really be able to develop not only upwards, but also deeper. Singapore, known for its severe land shortage, has long looked towards underground construction. One of the most ambitious projects is the Underground Scientific City, which was going to be built on an area of about several 100,000 square meters. It was assumed that thousands of scientists, engineers, and researchers would be able to work there, and laboratories, offices, and even entertainment venues would be equipped underground. The main idea was to use geothermal sources to maintain a comfortable temperature and reduce the load on the city's climate system. In addition, noisy industries can be moved underground to unload the surface from transport and industrial zones. The Singapore authorities emphasize that the city-state has long been looking inland because there are not only underground shops and parking lots, but also water tanks, warehouses, and parts of the subway. If this project is fully implemented, it could be a breakthrough for all megacities suffering from a lack of space. In the capital of Finland, Helsinki, there is an extensive network of underground complexes and communications that can accommodate almost the entire population of the city if there is a sudden threat of war or other disaster. We are talking about hundreds of objects and many kilometers of tunnels connected to each other. In peacetime, there are gyms, swimming pools, parking lots, and even a church where tourists come. It is said that this underground kingdom is equipped with air filtration systems and supplies of water and food that will last for several weeks. The reason for such large-scale preparations is Finland's historical wariness of neighboring powers. The authorities emphasize that they strive to ensure the safety of citizens and are ready, if necessary, to convert the infrastructure into full-fledged bomb shelters. Curiously, some areas are so picturesque that concerts or exhibitions are willingly held there, drawing even more attention to the underground beauty of Helsinki. If you liked this dive into underground secrets, then right now I strongly advise you to watch one of our previous episodes, which have already appeared on your screen. Thank you for watching.